Hi everyone, Paul Brown here from Wealth21. Hope you've had an enjoyable Easter weekend. A bit unusual, I guess, because we couldn't visit family friends, but nevertheless, I hope you had an enjoyable weekend. We've got an update on the investment markets, the situation with COVID cases and so on. So let's just go to the slides. So first of all, just the general disclaimer that anything in here is just general information. It's not advice at all. If you have any questions regarding your own personal circumstances, please feel free to make contact. Just in terms of what we'll cover today, just an update on some of the results in containing the virus. So we'll have a look at the markets over the last week or so and the economy as well. So firstly, looking at the new cases. So the red block here is new cases in Australia, and as you can see, that has been reducing consistently. Pretty much since the 28th of March when it peaked at 460 new cases in one day. It's now gone down. I actually think we had something like 13 new cases yesterday, which was very good, and the blue block is New South Wales, and the gold block there is Queensland, and all fairly consistent trends, which is good. This is the percentage increase in new cases, and you know, in the early stages of it, we had, you know, cases increasing by 30% a day, which was of much concern. But just in the last week or so, the percentage increase in cases has been well below 5%, and you know, as I say, yesterday was a very good day. The other chart, like in recent days, this blue line here is the accumulated cases. The red line here is recovered cases, and there is a big jump here, but more because the various state health departments weren't necessarily recording recoveries at that stage, but they did from this point on. So and so this is active cases. Okay, so and we have had 60 or so deaths, which is very tragic, but nevertheless the health authorities have been able to contain the number of fatalities at this stage, which is, they're doing a fantastic job. So in recent days, the number of active cases is actually less than the number of people who've actually recovered. You know, we've had something like 3,400 people that have contracted the virus but now recovered. So moving on to the markets now. I mean, this is the measure of market volatility that we often look at, the VIX index, and so it peaked, you know, at above 50. Normally the volatility index is between 10 and 20. But at this point here, when there was a lot of fear in the markets, it was up above 50, you know, approaching 55. Just in the last week or so, it's dropped down to about 30. So we've still got elevated levels of volatility, but with the Reserve Bank and the government stepping in to provide economic stimulus and support for the markets, liquidity for the markets, we've had some reduction in volatility. Just in terms of the Australian share market, this is looks like a chart over the past 3 months. So this is like that. This was the peak of the markets, you know, up above 7,200, and the market has actually, the red blocks are falls in the market, and just since this point here, which I think was around the 23rd of March. We've had the market steadily, you know, recording gains, and the blue days, or the blue blocks, are days when the market's moved up a fair amount. So we're seeing some signs of recovery as the markets adjust. So the other, this chart here is the Australian dollar against the US dollar, and you can see that the Australian dollar, typically it's been between 80 and 70 over the past 5 years or so, but it did drop down, you know, below 58 cents just a couple of weeks ago. It's up above 60 cents now. but the dollar did weaken very significantly, and that was partly associated to the Reserve Bank taking action to reduce interest rates. This next chart is the oil price, which I haven't really spoken about. Even though early in or late February, there was a significant fall in the price of oil, and so there was a breakdown in the agreement, the OPEC agreement. So the oil price did fall very significantly, below $20 actually. And so over the weekend, I understand that OPEC, led by Russia and Saudi Arabia, have reached some sort of an agreement to reduce supply. I think the US has been heavily involved in those discussions as well. So it'll be interesting to see whether the oil price actually rises now that agreement is reached. Of course, the other factor is that the demand for oil and gasoline has reduced very significantly. The petrol prices in Australia, I mean, certainly where we are, last time I filled up, it was about $1 a litre, and we haven't seen prices like that for a while. So the next chart is the 10-year bond rate, often called the risk-free rate. We did experience this ridiculous rise here, which was really signalling a liquidity problem in the bond market. This is when the Reserve Bank stepped in, and the 10-year bond rate is about 0.91% at the moment. So still very low bond rates, of course, because interest rates are very low. Okay, but some stability in the market now with the Reserve Bank stepping in to stabilise that market. This is a forecast of GDP growth rates, and of course, I think most economists, agree now that Australia is going to face some sort of recession, although the depth and the duration of the recession is very difficult to predict, given the current health situation. But this is a forecast, from Trading Economics, which sort of talks about Australia having, maybe 3/4 of negative growth, and then in 2021 moving back into positive territory again. But it is actually a forecast, and there's so many uncertainties. This is another, we've got some Australian jobs data out on Thursday, so that will be interesting. I mean, the unemployment rate in Australia typically is between 5 to 5.3%, around that range. But obviously the unemployment rate is going to rise. Just by how much is very difficult to estimate. Some economists see the unemployment rate going up above 10%. But we'll know more actually on Thursday when the jobs data comes out. And just finally, here's our contact details, where our office is remaining open, where we're able to continue to operate. Often there's only a couple of us here, but we are here to continue doing what we do. So there we have an update on the economic situation. So as I say, I hope you enjoyed your Easter. I'll just, if you've got any questions at all, please feel free to give me a call or send me an email. We are doing Zoom meetings, and that's working out quite well. So take care, look after yourself. Thank you.